Breaker Crunchers, welcome to issue 74 of Couch Crunchers, where we are excited that you can be our neighbor. With me, I have got Sam, and I am Max. And Sam, you are looking dapper this evening.
Well, thank you, neighbor. I went and saw the Mr. Rogers movie, and it inspired me to update the look, so I looked a little bit more neighborly.
Nice. Well, yes, you look fantastic. Wow, I mean, you got a tie on and everything, man.
Tie, nice Avengers sweater.
I guess that's a little bit less Mr. Rogers, but he believed in heroes, so that works.
He did. It's even got, I don't know if you can see that, the Time Crimes.
Oh, nice. Hey, Kyle, welcome. How you doing, buddy? Well, cool. We're excited to be here tonight. Lance was going to be on the show, but he is traveling to Colorado right now, so that's a lot of fun. Hey, Larry, STS guys, thanks for joining up. So yeah, it's just going to be Sam and I tonight, and it's going to be a good time. I'm going to go ahead and just say for all of our listeners, I'm very excited. I'm going to move my head because my wall is all new and shiny and fresh. So,
ooh, it looks so great.
I love it, man. I love it. And let's see here. I'm going to just go ahead and pull my mic up here.
There we go.
I've got my surround sound in the background, and I mounted a TV up here.
Well, that's a beautiful setup right there.
And I've got I'm real excited. I got new floors in here tonight. Yeah, you can see the floors there, and my shiny head. Anyway, for all you listeners, I'm thinking I might throw up the pictures of my office on the website. It's still not entirely done. I want to throw a couch in the back here.
Back where that curtain is. Crunch.
Exactly, a couch that I can crunch and that I can enjoy. But it's been pretty nice. I game after my wife goes to bed a lot of the time. That's when I get my gamer guying in. And gosh dang it, my glasses are all foggy. But like it can be kind of loud. Like right now, if I game in the loft, it's right outside of our bedroom and it keeps her up. So now I'm down in the basement, not the basement, the downstairs where my office is at. And I had my surround sound blasting pretty good the other night, and she couldn't even hear it in the bedroom. So I am loving this.
That's a nice setup.
Yeah, freaking love it. But anyway, let's get into Fab or Flub like usual. If you don't listen to the show, or if this is your first time, Fab or Flub is a segment where we discuss recent headlines and we talk about whether we think they are fabulous or flubulous. And right out the gate, we're going to get into one that Sam and I were talking about earlier this week. And Sam, if you have further context, feel free to provide it. But Elizabeth Banks is essentially blaming men for the flop of Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, so coming into the weekend, she was making comments about kind of her apprehension at the performance of Charlie's Angels. She said something like that the movies that feature a lot of women leads don't do well because men don't see them. And I don't know if she's saying that that's a shame or that's how it's intended to be, but she seemed to be saying that those movies don't make money because men don't see them. And it's because men don't like feminist messages and they don't like feminism. And the reply to her was, well, what about Wonder Woman? And what about Captain Marvel that both were around $1 billion each? And she said, well, they belong to a male genre. And that's why they succeed, is because even though those movies are about women, they are tangential to male-centric storylines. And clearly that was stepping on a lot of toes of fans of these types of movies. And she did afterwards, I think it was on Monday, she did a tweet where she said, if you're going to flop a movie, make sure your name is on it at least 4 times. So It seems like she kind of came back, recognized, this is my project. I have to own it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she did. And I appreciate you giving the context on it, because if all you read is the headline, it looks like she's blaming men for her movie doing poorly, when that's just not like realistic. My gut reaction for most people on the internet is to be like, Alien from the freaking 80s. That's a female-led action movie. People love it. Alien 2 especially. You've got The Hunger Games, super popular. I mean, I just really quick clicked on a link here. I'm just going to go through a few. I mean, Captain Marvel, of course, we talked about. Atomic Blonde. I don't think Atomic Blonde made a ton of money, but that one was a really good movie. Annihilation, great. Underworld. I mean, those are low budget movies, but it spawned what, 4 sequels? Yeah. And it's a female-led action movie. So women leads are not the problem at all. I mean, actually, if I look at some of my favorite movies of all time, Arrival is on that list. And now it's not an action movie. Arrival's not an action movie, but it's a female-led movie. So
and it's sci-fi, very heavy sci-fi.
Very heavy sci-fi, yeah. And it's one of my favorite movies ever. I mean, I can't speak for all men, but as a man, I don't have an issue with a woman being the lead of a movie. The movie just needs to be good. There are plenty of male-led action movies that suck.
Yeah, for sure. And they don't make money either.
No, exactly. There was another female-led one recently. I don't think it made much money, but I liked it. Anna. I don't know if you saw that one. That one was pretty good. It was a little bit lower budget, less than the mainstream, but that one was really good. V for Vendetta, the Lara Croft movies, the recent Tomb Raider. Excuse me. I'm just kind of flipping through some. It's kind of funny.
Lara Croft and Tomb Raider are the same. That's the same one.
Well, I know, but like there was the ones with Angelina Jolie, and then there was the Alicia Vikander one. Yeah, The Force Awakens. That's another female-led action movie. Yeah, Rogue One that I just watched. I mean, the Last Jedi. The whole Star Wars trilogy is female-led. Rogue One, actually, I think is my favorite Star Wars movie. It is a female-led movie. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Kill Bill. Like there are a ton. Hannah, which now has a Netflix movie. Or Netflix series, I mean.
It's Amazon Prime.
Amazon. Yeah. Sorry, Amazon Prime. Resident Evil, that's another one. So anyway.
I think you have thoroughly debunked her theory.
Yes.
But I'm going to also offer some concurring evidence because I actually did go see this movie. It wasn't one I was excited to see, but my wife was insistent. So we went and saw it. I was more open to it because Kristen Stewart and the other Angels did Hot Ones, which is probably the best interview show in the history of interview shows.
Yeah, I know you love that one.
And so they did Hot Ones, and they got me kind of interested and excited because they're reaching out to fans in different ways. And honestly, there hadn't been a lot of press that I had seen from the stars of that show. So maybe the studio was not wanting to put a lot of money into it, having seen it themselves. But I went and saw it, and I will say it's not bad. It's just not remarkable. It's as by the numbers a movie as I've seen. It's kind of the action equivalent of every Lifetime Christmas rom-com that there is, right? Every movie is just another clone of another one and another one.
Yeah. And
there was nothing really standing out. There weren't very many quippy lines. Even the old Angel ones with Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu, they had some really corny lines that were just so quotable because they were so dorky, right?
Yeah.
I remember while we were watching the movie, there was this line that Drew Barrymore said. She beats up this guy while she's in handcuffs. And after it's over, she stands there and she goes, "That's kicking your ass." And I said that to my wife after every fight scene because there was no quotable line after any fight scenes. And I was like, "That's kicking your ass." I said it after every single one. And she was like, "Okay, we get it. You can shut up now." I mean, the last time I saw a movie like this was Transporter 3, which was a long time ago. But that movie was, again, it was so ridiculous. But even it had quotable lines because there was this the package that he was delivered was this redhead Russian girl, and she sat in the back sleeping for about 80% of the movie. And then at the very end, she wakes up, she makes a pass at Jason Statham, and when he rejects her, she says, "You are the gay?" Like that's the only line I remember. I also remember that movie is notable because Jason Statham does a roundhouse in a roundhouse in a train roundhouse. So it was it was at least more memorable. But for the most part, it was funny because me and my buddies were there watching it and making fun of it the whole time. And that's kind of how it was for me with Charlie's Angels. It was a lot of, ho hum, and so that's trying to fill the doldrums, you could say, with some of my own humor. But it's not because men don't like feminists. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if you want your movie to succeed, it has to bring something to the audience they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And there were probably a lot of opportunities for that. And I know a lot of people are going to say, look, Kristen Stewart, she was terrible in Twilight. She'll always be terrible. But that is not true. And in fact, she was probably the best part of this movie. And she actually has come a long way, as has Robert Pattinson. And I know we've talked about him as Batman before and how people are kind of skeptical. But these people can grow and change. And they have done so with their careers. And they're not the problem. The problem is Elizabeth Banks, who was the director and the writer and the producer, didn't do her job to make sure that this movie would succeed.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. And I really like your final point there near the end about how Kristen Stewart, people think she's always going to suck. And that's stupid. Like you said, Robert Pattinson's going to be Batman now. He's been in quite a few things recently that he's good. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name of the movie now.
The Lighthouse.
Well, that one, yeah, I haven't
terrific in that.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard he's amazing in it. There was another one, High Life. I watched that one on Amazon Prime recently. I don't understand the movie at all. It went way over my head. The whole thing's a metaphor, and I was like distracted while watching it. And I don't think I want to watch it again. I was bored out of my mind. But I think that's me, not the movie. I think it was just like deeper than I was like ready to engage with at the moment. I think I was wanting more of like a sci-fi movie, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's set in space, but it's not a sci-fi movie really. It's about human survival, and it's definitely full of metaphors that I just wasn't really wanting. But his performance was outstanding. Like, he's come a long way. And Kristen Stewart, I think even from the trailers, I could tell that she's come a long way. Like, she's getting better. So I'm with you. This idea of like blacklisting an actor or actress because they sucked in a movie. Look at Natalie Portman. She was pretty crappy in Star Wars, and now she's won, awards for her acting. So the same can't be said for Hayden Christensen. Granted, he really didn't get much of a chance after Star Wars, or if maybe he was given chances and he just gave up. I don't know, but like, people can bounce back.
Oh, for sure.
Because like, I used to defend Natalie Portman, speaking of Star Wars now, I used to defend her and say the writing was the problem. And the writing is the problem in the prequels for sure. But Unknown Reaper, Matt says, it's nice to see Sam back. Yeah, it's good to have Sam on the show. Like, the writing was definitely bad. But you look at someone like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ian McGregor, he did a great job, even though the writing sucked. Same thing with Liam Neeson. He did a pretty darn good job in episode 1. Like, everyone likes Liam Neeson's character, Qui-Gon Jinn, and the writing was bad, but he did a good job as an actor. So, I think it just proves your point that actors can come a long way and really improve.
For sure.
So, Annihilation is another one of those like kind of action movies starring a female lead, Natalie Portman, and she is fantastic, and so are all of her other leads in it. I saw that one in theaters. I own it, and I've only watched half of it since I bought it. I need to go back and rewatch that one because it is beautiful in 4K, and it's a cool movie, really cool movie.
Oh yeah,
that one's pretty deep actually. At the end with the anyway, so I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, the ending is super weird.
It's super weird.
Maybe we'll do a throwback episode on that. I don't believe we talked about it on Couch Crunchers. That could be a fun one. Like, when there's not a movie out, we watch it and talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so Elizabeth Banks isn't really blaming men for the flop, but if you look at a headline, it looks like that. And I definitely don't think that there's a valid point for saying men don't want to watch women do action. If anything, straight men love seeing women do action because it's kind of hot.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, there you go. I think this movie should have come out straight to Netflix. It wasn't something that people are going to go pay to see. But it's definitely worth a click on Netflix. I think they should have just gone straight to it.
I mean, I'm interested in watching it, but I'm not going to the theater for it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, another movie that has done the opposite of Charlie's Angels recently is Joker. It has done so well recently that there are pretty strong rumors and inklings out there that a sequel is coming. I've seen conflicting reports, so I'm not sure what to believe. Some sites are saying a sequel's coming. Some are saying it's never coming. Some are saying it's likely. But the point is, it's looking like it's likely for a sequel. What do you think? Is that a fab or a flub to you, Sam?
Well, I think Todd Phillips, before I answer the fab or flub question, I think Todd
Sure.
Phillips would come out and debunk the rumor saying that there is no plan for a Joker sequel. And so I know Kyle was really hating on the idea of a sequel. Now, my question is, if you were to do a sequel, what are you trying to explore? What is left to explore about this character? I think he would then just become the foil for Batman, which we have seen a couple of times. We haven't seen it in the newest Justice League iteration, and I don't know that we will get to.
Yeah.
Having Ben Affleck having taken off the cape and cowl and moved on to other things. I think it is not likely that we will get a Batman versus Joker in the new Justice League universe. A Joker sequel, I just don't see where they're going with that, or where they would go with that, except, it's kind of like The Shining, where they waited 30 plus years, 30, 40 plus years to do a sequel with Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
It might make sense to do something like that where Joker has been forgotten, or he's passing the mantle on to somebody else and someone else is picking it up. I think I might be more interested in seeing something like that, because I know in the Batman comics there was an exploration of the Joker as kind of a demigod or a godlike presence, where somebody throughout history is the Joker. And it's not always the same guy. It's just kind of a mantle that's passed down from one trickster to another, to kind of be a menace to humanity and kind of keep everybody on their toes. I might be interested in seeing something like that, where the mantle of the Joker is being passed down from someone to somebody else. It might be very interesting to see something like that. Kind of almost like a horror movie where the Joker is like a demon possessing different people and causing them to do different things. I might be interested in seeing something like that.
That's an interesting perspective. I don't know. I think it is weird. Like, how are we going to see a good Joker sequel? Unknown Reaper in the comments brings up an interesting idea. He says, I want to see the Batman-Joker relationship from Joker's point of view. So he wants to see Batman be the supporting character to the Joker. And I think that could be very interesting with...
anybody who saw The Dark Knight would probably...
Well, we'll say that he kind of is. Kind of.
Sorry to step on you there.
No, you're good. You're good. I think they were kind of both equally leads in that movie, but I think that's...
I was just trying to respond to Matt's comment that I think Batman kind of was the supporting character in The Dark Knight. I think that was maybe it wasn't entirely. Batman definitely had a lot of screen time. I think Joker had almost the same amount of screen time as Batman.
I think it was fairly equal, and I think that's part of the reason that movie was so good. But I think that could be interesting to see Batman as a supporting character. I don't know if I want that or not, though. It's tough because I didn't want an original Joker movie to begin with, and it ended up being fantastic. And so part of me is just like, you already found gold. Let's not roll the dice again. But at the same time, I can see WB's point of view of, this made a lot of money. Why don't we capitalize on it and make another one? I just don't know how you do it again. Because what made this movie so intriguing is you're taking a character who wasn't the Joker, and you're exploring how a normal human being can go, from nothing into kind of the psychopath. Amy Taylor says hi. Hey, Amy. I was just at her house for dinner. That ham was delicious. Thank you again. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how
Thanks
you do
for keeping Max fed.
Yes. Thank you for keeping me fed. So I don't know. It's an interesting concept. If it doesn't happen, I won't be disappointed. I think Joker is gold, and we can keep that lightning in the bottle rather than trying to create a second bottle of lightning or whatever have you, you know. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So then my comment to you, sir, is that maybe you don't know what you want. Maybe Todd Phillips and maybe WB knows better what you want than what you than what you know. You may think you know.
No, you're right.
You didn't know you wanted Joker until you already had it.
Exactly. And so that's what's tough. Like, I didn't know I wanted it. It ended up being fantastic. They might be able to knock it out of the park again. I don't have the imagination and creativity to come up with it. Amy says we forgot to take our coats off. You're right. There's a reason that Sam is in a coat. He is Mr. Rogers.
Amy, no, this is a sweater. I'm promoting kind of it's a concept that I'll get into a little later when we talk about Mr. Rogers' movie. But
I know, Amy. She's just messing.
I won't spoil it just yet.
Oh, okay.
I won't spoil it just yet.
Sounds good. We'll get there. We'll get there before long. Yeah, I'm wearing my coat because my freaking downstairs is always cold. So it's just like, I'm going to keep it on. It's freaking, what is it? Like, you know what? I'm going to look. I think it's 30-something degrees right now in Colorado, which isn't really that bad. It snowed really bad yesterday. 34 right now, feels like 26. And my downstairs is always colder than my upstairs because heat rises. That's what?
Yeah, that's pretty brisk.
Yes.
I'm sitting at about 60, 62, 63.
Yeah, Arizona's always nice like that. Well,
good old Mesa, Arizona.
Well, let's talk about the shivering cold that exists in the Vikings world. There is a sequel to Vikings called Vikings Valhalla, set about 200 years after the end of the Viking series, coming to Netflix. Do you watch Vikings, Sam?
Yeah. Vikings is terrific. It is an excellent show. There are actually quite a few really good series about the.
It's 100 years after the original.
Yeah, it's 100 years after. But there's a lot of really good series about the Anglo-Saxon Wars period of British history. One of the ones that I really like is about Uhtred, and it kind of tells the story from the English perspective. Vikings, you get from.
Oh, you're cutting out there. Uhtred, I think you're talking about the Last
Valhalla.
Kingdom.
Vikings Valhalla is going to again be 100 years later from the Saxon perspective.
Yeah. So when you say Uhtred, were you talking kind of about like the Last Kingdom on Netflix?
What's that?
You were talking about Uhtred, and you kind of cut out after that. Your internet maybe cut you out.
Might be having some audio issues, so
yeah, potentially.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's set 100 years after the original. The original is quite good. Although, here's what I will say about it. So the first 4 seasons, I think, were really good. And then one of the main characters gets killed off, and it just wasn't as good. And I don't know, maybe you disagree, but the last couple seasons have not been as good. Now you've got Floki. It's kind of like nuts, and which actually that I don't mind. The Floki and his like colony thing isn't too bad, but Bjorn has kind of just turned into an oof. You know, he's just kind of like an oaf. And I hate, why am I blanking on his name? The son, the other son, that's like a villain. He's the cripple. Why am I forgetting his name? Can you remember? I can't remember now. Darn it. Anyway, I hate that character. Well, I thought you said you watched it. Vikings villain season 5.
Oh, yeah, I do.
What's his name? I'm just blanking on it, and now it's driving me crazy.
Well, as soon as you asked me what his name was, you made me blank too. It's contagious when you forget stuff.
Oh, well. Anyway, it's one of his sons. I can see his face right now. Ivar. I freaking hate Ivar. And here's why I hate Ivar.
Oh, yeah, Ivar.
So Ivar is not, in my opinion, a good villain, and this is why I'm liking Vikings less now. Ivar doesn't really have any redeeming qualities, in my opinion, and a good villain does. Like, and maybe redeeming qualities is the wrong term, but like they're likable in some way. even if they're likable in like a terrible way. Like Joaquin Phoenix Joker, for instance. Like, he's a horrible human being, but because you get to know him at a different level, he is likable in some ways. He's enjoyable to like watch. I don't find anything enjoyable about Ivar. I freaking hate the character. He's kind of like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, where you just want him dead. You just hate him. And I don't like villains like that are just completely hateable. What?
Yeah, he's got a lot of personality flaws. He's not real super relatable. He's a bit of a backstabber.
Hey Sam, you're cutting out a lot. Do you want to back out and come back in? That might help.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
All right. Let's see if that helps. In the meantime, ooh, I look so fancy. That's not true. I'm really not that fancy. But yeah, in the meantime, I mean, I'm excited for this show, Vikings Valhalla. I think it's going to be interesting for sure. Oh, device is not connected. Yeah, something weird's going on with Sam's stuff. You know, Vikings Valhalla looks like it's going to be an interesting idea. You know, just this idea of set 100 years after, and we're going to get more of the Vikings world. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Netflix hasn't really been doing me wrong. I mean, so far we've got The Witcher that's coming out. Granted, we haven't seen it, but it's coming out on the 20th. I'm definitely excited about that. I think that's going to be really cool. Henry Cavill looks awesome. They've renewed it for a season 2. And actually just earlier this week, they revealed a bunch of the episodes that are coming on with that. Sam, the neighborly neighbor, man, he's having some issues here. Keeps saying he's trying to join up, but it's not letting him. Oh, there we go. Neighborly neighbor, he's coming in. Well, anyway, I think that'll do it for the Vikings talk. While he's loading, I'm going to get into something else that's driving me bonkers, and that's this. Kathleen Kennedy. So we're moving on to the next Fab or Flub. This is actually our final one tonight. You're good to go, Sam? Can you hear me?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I'm ready.
All right. You're sounding a lot better now. All right. So the last thing I wanted to touch on here is Kathleen Kennedy, who, if you don't know, is kind of like the lead of Star Wars right now. Earlier this week, let me pull up the link to give you exactly what she said so I don't just sound like I'm paraphrasing. So she says, talking about Star Wars movies, every one of these movies is a particularly hard nut to crack. There's no source material. We don't have comic books. We don't have 800-page novels. We don't have anything other than passionate storytellers who get together and talk about what the next iteration might be. Okay. Stay right there for a second. We'll be right back. Okay. This comment from her is absurd. This is the Legends material, but I have a handful of books in my hands right now. There's no novels, there's no comic books, there's no background material. What in the world are you talking about? Star Wars, The New Jedi Order, Star Wars, Book 2 of the Corellian Trilogy, great book, by the way. I mean, come on. Book 3 of the Corellian Trilogy. I've got loads of these. I've got a ton on my freaking phone. The head of Star Wars is saying we don't have comic books and novels to pull from. Even if you discard all of the books I just showed you, which is only 3, but there's a bunch more in this stack here, and I have more behind me. Even if you discard all of those because they're legends, there's still loads of canon material to pull from as well from the books. Like, where is she getting off with this crap? Like, it's not like Marvel, everything that they've written is like canon for the MCU. They're pulling off of comic books from decades ago. And like, then they're making it MCU canon. Star Wars can do the same thing, and they have been doing the same thing. Thrawn comes from these books, which are they in here? I wonder if I've got them. Oh no, I own those ones digitally. But Thrawn originally comes from these books that pull up my Kindle here. No, I'm not going to do it. But there's the original Thrawn trilogy that he comes from like the 90s. And he was such a popular character that when they basically undid all of the canon, all of the Legends material, they still brought Thrawn back in Rebels, Star Wars Rebels. And now he's got 3 canon novels in the Star Wars universe. The third one just came out earlier this year. I haven't had a chance to read it because this is how popular Thrawn is. He has a trilogy. He has a duology. He has a TV show in Rebels. Well, he's like 2 seasons. He's the main villain. And now he has a trilogy in the new canon. I've read the first 2 of that trilogy. I've read the original trilogy that's Legends, and I'm on book 2 of the duology, which is a 690-page book. So, okay, there's not an 800-page novel that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's one out there. But this one's 700 pages, Kathleen Kennedy. And Matt saying, get her. Yeah, I am kidding her. What the heck are you talking about, lady? You kidding me right now? Like, okay. On this show, I think everyone agrees.
There's so many great Star Wars material, just the movies.
I'm wearing my freaking Star Wars right now.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Getting a little hot and bothered. Gotta take the jacket off. There it is.
Yeah. So Matt is in the comment saying "get her" because
Star Killer.
He's actually the one that sent this to me earlier about this quote. It was a few days ago, and I'm just like, it drove me bonkers. I'm like, I can't believe that the head of Star Wars is saying this crap. Like, are you kidding me right now, Kathleen Kennedy? What do you think about this, Sam?
I 100% agree. There's so much great material out there. I mean, I thought the storyline for the Force Unleashed video games was probably good enough that it could carry a couple movies at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's tons of books. There's the Clone Wars series were really good.
Mm-hmm.
There were tons of characters that were introduced, tie back into the movies. And again, this is a showrunner or a corporate bigwig trying
to what?
Blaming the fan base.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just trying to excuse their own failings by blaming the fan base. It's not the fans' fault. It's not the audience's fault. It's these people's fault. You know, your name is all over the credits. So don't go pointing fingers at people whose names are not on the credits.
Yeah.
You know, we just finished episode 3 of The Mandalorian, and it's great. Like it's this like real great Star Wars universe storyline that doesn't have anything to do with Skywalkers.
Yeah.
It's very good, and we'll probably talk more about it.
Oh yeah.
But for Kathleen Kennedy to come out and say that there's no source material is preposterous. It is ridiculous. It's an insult.
Yeah.
And I can't believe she would say something like this. It's the same thing as Elizabeth Banks saying, you know, it's men's fault for not seeing Charlie's Angels. It's like, just make something good and people will appreciate it. Yeah. Make a good story. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
And they're the experts, right? They do this all the time. They should know how to make a good story.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just some guy that does a podcast. I think I've said it on the show before. I've written a book, but it's not like published. I'm not a professional writer. I just enjoy doing it for fun. I don't have like the knowledge and expertise that some of these people do. They should be able to come up with ideas. And Matt's saying in the comments, I think it's coming from the point of view that after Disney took over Star Wars, all of the extended universe was scrapped and considered no longer canon. And you're right. You're right. However, okay. So you got this book. This is no longer canon. This is one of the ones I've read. I have a few books on my shelf I haven't read yet. But this is from the Corellian trilogy. And it involves Han and his family going back to Corellia. And there's kind of like a big old plot that goes on there. And there's a bunch that goes on. You don't have to like take every little aspect of it. You don't have to copy and paste this book into movie format. But you can take ideas from it. It's the same thing with Marvel and DC. You don't see a page-for-page restructuring of everything. Like Civil War is not the exact same movie as the comic book is. Like the comic book has a lot of additional details, a lot of different things in it. Like, you know what I mean? It's they're pulling ideas from it. It's not the same idea as you're adapting a book like the Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter into a movie. You're taking ideas from this extended universe that's already been written and moving it over and making it your own. Case in point, Thrawn. And they did Thrawn exceptionally well. So you get Thrawn from the comics, who was great and amazing, and you bring him in, and what they did, they were smart, is that the new books are written by the original author of the Thrawn trilogy. So Timothy Zahn is his name. And that's how you do it. So yeah, it's probably coming from the point of view that they do have less canon. And I think that their idea is that, like, if it is canon in the books, they're not going to make a movie about it. I'm okay with that. Pull on the Legends material. Use it as a base. You know, you don't. I just think she's kind of ridiculous with her mindset on this. But anyway, that was me going off. That was me going off on a rant a little bit there.
That was impressive, sir.
Star Wars is my passion.
That was quite impressive.
As you can see behind me, and I don't know how to move the camera, I got a Boba Fett right here behind me clock. I've got a Darth Vader head back there. I've got some, you can't see it behind me now, but there's Darth Vader behind me here. I've got a lot of Star Wars stuff. I love Star Wars. I've got a thermal detonator. I've got a freaking TIE fighter from the New Order back there on my wall, R2-D2 in potato head format. I love Star Wars. It is far and away my favorite franchise, which is why The Mandalorian is so exciting for me. It's why my brother and I are going to Disneyland to go to Star Wars World in February. I just went with my wife in October, so last month we went to Disney World, and that was freaking awesome. But I'm excited to go with my brother because he and I are huge Star Wars fans. Like, he's the reason originally that I was going to fly down to Arizona over the Christmas break, because I wanted to see it with him in person. Like, that's how big of a fan I am. I'm essentially paying $500 to go see this movie because of my flights. You know, and now we decided to turn it into a whole trip, and my wife's coming down and we're going to stay until Christmas. Like, so now it's a Christmas vacation, but the original idea was I wanted to see Star Wars with my brother. So yeah, it's extremely important to me. My boss at my old job, you know, convinced me to read some Star Wars books, and it changed my perspective on Star Wars. I always loved Star Wars, but it was kind of like a close second to Lord of the Rings for me. Lord of the Rings and fantasy in general were always like above sci-fi. And depending on my mood, I'm going to prefer fantasy still, but most of the time, Star Wars is the best because it gives you both. It's fantasy in space. Like, it's totally fantasy. You've got magic in the Force. You've got sword battles with lightsabers, you know. You don't have bow and arrows. You have guns instead, you know. But, like, you know what I mean? It's the same idea as fantasy. You've got magical creatures.
Oh,
You've got aliens instead of elves and orcs and, you know, stuff like that. So I just love it, and very passionate about it, and very, very excited about Star Wars. And you can tell that. So the next thing we're going to get into before we talk about Won't You Be My Neighbor is just what we've been watching. And The Mandalorian, we'll talk about that last because I know you and I both watched it, and I want to have a nice discussion about that. But pretty much everything I've been doing is Star Wars. So I'll get into that next. Let's hear from you, Sam. I've been talking for a while. What have you been reading, watching, playing, etc.?
Oh, sure. So behind me is my shrine to One Piece. One Piece is an anime from Japan. It's also a comic book, which if it's from Japan, you call it a manga. But got 91 volumes of One Piece behind me. This week, the editor of One Piece and the author of One Piece both did interviews for different outlets, and they announced that this comic that's been running for 22 years, one solid story for 22 years, will be ending in the next 5 years, which for some people may seem like a long time, but for me, it's like, well, what am I going to do after that? what's my life supposed to? How am I supposed to carry on after One Piece is over? I've been following it for 14 years. I started it 14 years ago when it was like a month after I got married.
Couldn't handle marriage. You're like, I got to do something else, man. This is rough.
Yeah. It is the best now I think it's ever been. They are introducing characters and concepts into the story that they've been leading up to for many years. And it is as good now as it's ever been. They introduced a character named Odin, not like Odin, the god of thunder's dad, not Odin Allfather. His name's Odin, O-D-E-N, which is the Japanese word for noodles. So he's named after noodles, but he's a samurai, like a top knot. And the way they introduced him was he's sitting in front of a funeral pyre, and he's cooking a bowl of noodles over the funeral pyre, while the remains of the guy that's being cremated, are still on the funeral pyre.
Oh man, that's good.
And then, yeah, so there's people are going, he's desecrating my father's funeral pyre. How dare he? He's what a horrible person. And then he takes the bowl of noodles and he drinks the broth, and then he takes a swig of sake, and he kind of splashes some onto the funeral pyre, and the flame kicks up, and he says, "Thank you for one last meal, my friend." And then he kind of trots off and does his thing. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, who would ever think to do that? Who would ever think to introduce a character that way, or have a character cook a meal on a funeral pyre and then as a way of honoring the dead? Like, who would ever think to do that? And it blew me away when I saw it. And it's been 3 weeks probably since that chapter came out, but
wow,
still, it's like blowing my mind. I've never seen anything like that before. Never, ever. And to hear that One Piece is coming to an end after it's still 22 years in, is delivering surprises and delivering great character introductions and great character story arcs.
Yeah.
It's like terrifying to me. I don't want this thing to end. I could go another 22 years and really enjoy it. So One Piece is a big one, and that's something that I will watch and will rewatch and read and reread for the rest of my life. But then other things I've been watching, The Mandalorian, started that, finished season 2 of Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah. What'd you think of that?
That's been a couple weeks though.
Yeah, what'd you think? I'm only
so I like about. Oh, okay. Well, what I like about this Jack Ryan series. So a lot of series will set up a conflict and then not deliver on the promise that they make. And in this one, they set up a conflict early on. I don't know if I'm giving spoilers away, but a person who's very close to Jack Ryan is killed in early in the series. And the whole season is about Jack Ryan trying to piece together who's responsible for the murder.
Man, I don't think I saw that in episode.
It involves...
Huh. I don't think I saw it.
I think it is in episode 1, but
then maybe I forgot.
It involves foreign dignitaries. It involves mercenaries. It involves all these shell companies. And so Jack Ryan is trying to piece together the puzzle and figure out who's behind it all. And I don't want to tell you who's behind it all because it's a fantastic journey. But the thing that a lot of series do is that they pull the punch at the last second, and they don't give you that satisfying moment. Not only does Jack Ryan get the moral victory, but he also gets the physical victory where he punches that guy in the face, or he kills the guy. He doesn't kill anybody, but he'll punch the guy in the face, and then maybe he does kill somebody. I don't know. I don't want to give anything away, and I can't remember right now.
I mean, I don't know Jack Ryan like that well. Jack Ryan kills. Pretty sure he's a soldier. I really liked season 1 though, so I'm wanting to watch season 2. Just I've been a little busy. Is there anything else you were watching you wanted to talk about?
Oh, there's a number of anime that I'm really enjoying right now. I know not a lot of people who are regular watchers watch a lot of anime, but if you are interested in anything going on right now, Dr. Stone, Fire Force, Haikyuu, those are all really great. Dr. Stone is about the world, or all the humans in the world get petrified for about 3,500 years, and then they start to, one or two people kind of break out of the stone, and then they are wanting to restart civilization, and it's a fascinating little tale. And then Fire Force is like people are spontaneously combusting because they get possessed by demons, and then there's this firefighting team that goes out to put out the fire demons, and it's kind of like a combination of Backdraft and they're exercising demons. They're not just putting out fires, they're exercising demons. So it's kind of a combination of The Exorcist and Backdraft. And then Haikyuu is a sports anime. It's about volleyball players, and I had been kind of ignoring it on Netflix for a long time because I'm not really into volleyball. My little brothers played volleyball. I had played football. I didn't really get into volleyball, but watching it, you don't have to be into the sport to appreciate that it's a really good story. And that's what I'm going to tell you right now, is it is a really good story. It's more grounded in reality than, say, any of the other things that I've mentioned tonight.
Haikyuu.
And it's a lot of fun to watch. So those are the things that I will recommend to everybody else. So I hope you watch. Yeah, Haikyuu.
That sounds interesting. That's on Netflix, you said?
It's on Netflix. Yeah, they've got 50 episodes, which is 2 seasons of Haikyuu. They kind of they go at a nice pace through each volleyball game. They have them dubbed and subbed, so whichever way you prefer to watch it. I prefer the dubbed because then I don't have to read and miss any of the action.
No, I understand that, man, for sure. Well, cool, man. Thanks for going through that. So first of all, Matt says he watches the anime stuff, so you probably got someone there to fan nerd out with you. But as for me, I have been consuming a lot of Star Wars. So before I get into that, let me talk about what I've been doing that isn't Star Wars. For the past few weeks, I've talked about Project xCloud. I'm going to talk about it one more time because I've really been enjoying that. So what Project xCloud is, if you aren't familiar with it, is basically a video game streaming service that Microsoft is coming out with. Right now, it's in preview program. I was lucky enough to get in on the preview program. It's really not exceptionally hard to get in. I just signed up, and lots of people are being let in. If you're an Xbox Insider, there's a very good chance you'll get in. And to be an Xbox Insider, you can literally Google it and you fill out a quick little thing and you'll be in. If you have a Microsoft account, it's pretty darn simple to be an Xbox Insider. But what Project xCloud is essentially Microsoft has a bunch of just Xbox One S's that they have sitting on servers, and you log into your phone, and right now they have, I think, 50 games in the preview that you can play, and they stream to your phone. You just connect your phone via Bluetooth. Do I have my clip over here? I could show you guys kind of how that looks. I don't know if I do. Darn it. Well, at any rate, there's a clip that you put your phone into, and you can just kind of hook your phone and your controller together and play your video games on your phone. And it's super cool. I really enjoy it. And so like earlier today, my wife and I were getting ready to go over to dinner at a friend's house. I didn't want to turn my Xbox on, but I wanted to play a little bit of video games. So I turned on Just Cause 4, started playing it on my phone. I only played about 10, 15 minutes. But what's cool is that when I jump back on later, it's going to pick me right back up where I was, or at least at the last checkpoint, which is nice. So like it syncs to my Xbox Live account via the cloud. When I log back in, I'm streaming this game. And I'm going on a business trip this weekend. So when I'm in the hotel later or at the airport waiting for flights, guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be playing video games, probably Just Cause 4. And it's really cool. It's running exceptionally well, especially for being in preview. And to be honest, I think that Google Stadia is probably sweating right now, because Google Stadia is a similar idea. Google has come out with a service where all you have to do is buy their controller, and then you can also hook it up via like Bluetooth. And they're also going to have it to where if you have like a Google Chrome, so you can do it on your TV. xCloud right now you can't do on your TV, as far as I'm aware. But it allows you to stream games to your device, and all you need is a controller. So yeah, it's a pretty low cost of entry. But with xCloud, they currently have more games in their preview than xCloud does in their full launch. Or sorry, the Stadia does in their full launch. Stadia has somewhere around like 28 games or something like that in their full launch. And xCloud has 50 in preview, and it's free. And from what my understanding is, if you already pay for Game Pass Ultimate, which is $15 a month and gives you Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live, you get Project X Cloud. So all of these games that are on it, you get on top of your Xbox Game Pass already. So basically what it amounts to is that, let's say you're a PS4 player, but there's some Xbox games that you want to play. You can technically hook your PS4 up via Bluetooth to your phone and play xCloud. If you don't want to buy an Xbox, you're most likely going to be able to log on with your PS4 controller on your phone and play Halo Infinite when it comes out next year via your freaking phone. So if you're a PlayStation guy or girl, whatever, if you main PlayStation, but you really like Halo or Gears or whatever it may be, it sounds like you're going to be able to sign up for a subscription for $15 a month. And if you want to just cancel after the 1 month, you can play your game on your phone. Potentially it's going to come to your TVs eventually, and you're good. Like, that's amazing. It's a really cool service. So I'm very, very excited about this, and I've really been enjoying it. And I think Stadia is probably sweating because they're freaking at full launch with half the games that xCloud has in preview. Were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just. It's all about content. I mean, the platform is nice, but if you don't have the content to back it up, you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And gosh dang it, I'm pretty sure. Where did it go? I was literally playing in my office earlier today. I wanted to show you guys kind of how it looks, but I don't know where that is. Oh, yes, I do. It's right behind me. Okay, sorry. So this is my Xbox Elite 2 controller, and I've got a little clip on it. And yeah, I just picked this thing up about a month ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I freaking love it. And I'm not going to show you guys like any gameplay footage or anything because that would probably be against like copyright and stuff for the preview, at least right now. But I'll just kind of show you how the clip looks. So this would be from behind. So I just got it clipped on here, and I can just play my video.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right here. Yeah, and I have to like do it to the side of it because my volume button's right there. And this clip, if I like things centered. I'm a little OCD about it. But if I do that, then it's going to like turn my volume up and down on me and just kind of wig out. So I just have to kind of deal with it being offset. But yeah, so you got it like right like this. And I can also play, like I own Final Fantasy VII on my phone. Like the original. And so when I'm on the plane tomorrow, if I want to, I can hook this bad boy up, play Final Fantasy VII with my Xbox controller. And I might do that. Probably not though. Yeah, it's freaking awesome. You know, it's super cool. And this little doohickey that connects to your Xbox controller, which by the way, here's just like a normal Xbox One controller, and it connects to this too. Actually a little bit better than even the Elite controller. Yeah, it just connects real easy, and you can play video games. And this was like $8, this clip. Super cheap on Amazon. Yeah. And yeah, even if you don't care to play xCloud or whatever, you know, there's a lot of mobile games out there that would be more fun with a controller. And if you have a PS4 controller or an Xbox One controller and you like playing mobile games, getting a clip like this would make that experience so much better. I know that's like a part of the reason I don't play mobile games.
It turns like all of your Xbox controllers into a Nintendo Switch because they become super portable at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And there's quite a few good games on mobile. Like I have Chrono Trigger, SNES game. I've got a PS1 game in Final Fantasy VII. You can buy FF9. You can buy Final Fantasy VI. You can buy. I have Secret of Mana, which is another SNES game. Like there's a ton of these old throwback games you can buy on mobile. And then there's also the mobile games like Gears Pop has a game, Call of Duty Mobile. You could play it on a controller. Like it just makes that mobile gaming experience better. And I think that's really, really exciting. And clips like this have existed for a while. I'm just kind of bringing awareness to this because of xCloud, and that got me excited about it. So anyway, that's one of the main things I've been up to. In addition to xCloud, I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The campaign in that is absolutely fantastic. Probably the best COD campaign in a long time. And by the way, that sounds so good in my surround sound, man. Holy crap. Playing with a buddy last night. Anytime my freaking gun was shot, the bass, my subwoofer was just booming. A grenade goes off, and I was like, is my room shaking? Like, it was freaking cool. And
That's
then,
awesome.
yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, that's another thing I've been playing, and that one's pretty good too. The sound mixing in it with the lightsaber when you slash something has a good amount of bass in there as well. And so kind of the same idea. And because I play when my wife's asleep, here I am in my room playing Jedi Fallen Order down here in my office, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wake my wife up. That was really loud. Come to find out the next morning, she's like, no, I didn't hear a thing. I was asleep. And I'm like, come in here. I want to show you how loud it is, because she doesn't like loud sounds, and I do. I love it loud, which is why I've wanted my surround sound to be set up properly ever since I got it like 8 years ago. And I've always just had every single speaker up in front of me. I've never had them surrounding me. I had it up at 35, which if I have my way, it's at 50. But 35 is pretty good still, like quite loud. And she's like, this is too loud for me. Can you turn it down? And I'm like, that's how loud I had it last night when you were asleep. And she was amazed. She's like, holy crap, I couldn't hear it. So yeah, it's definitely making for a fun experience for me. I mean, you could probably do that now. You got your nice big old house, sounds like, from what you just moved into.
Yeah.
Have a space to yourself.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. New place. We got lots of rooms, but I think the walls might be a little bit thinner than they are at your place.
Yeah, maybe. They're probably more insulated here because of the snow. Has to be warmer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, I talked about it a little bit last week. Absolutely amazing game. Seriously, like, the combat's a little more challenging than some other games. I haven't played the Dark Souls, but it's being compared to like Dark Souls-y type combat, but easier because you can turn the difficulty down, which is what I did. I'm playing it on normal. I know a lot of people that are playing it on hard. I'm not that good. I want the story. I want to enjoy myself and feel like a bad A Jedi. And on normal mode, I can feel like a bad A Jedi, but there's still a little bit of a challenge. You know, there was a boss I played the other night that took me like 4 or 5 tries to finally beat, but I did, and that was satisfying because there was some challenge. You have to time your parries right. You have to time your dodges and your rolls, and you have to use the right moves at the right times. And it's not like Force Unleashed. Force Unleashed is awesome to this day. It still holds up. I played it like a year or two ago, but it's easy. Like, it's super easy. You know, you force lightning people, you have a ton of force power, you're constantly picking up new health and new force. And in Jedi Fallen Order, you don't regain health automatically. You don't pick up additional health. You have, all right, now I still only have 2, and I'm at the end of the game, 2 stim packs. You can get more. I just don't know where to get them, and I haven't Googled it, and I'm doing okay. And once you're out, you don't regain health unless you find a save point. But if you find a save point and then you save and you restore your health, all the enemies respawn. So now you'll have to refight them all if you try to backtrack. Generally, it's not a huge deal because you're trying to, you know, get forward progression. So if you save your save point, there would have been enemies in front of you no matter what. So them respawning isn't going to matter. But it's really good. The sound design, the gameplay, the story. I know Matt, I don't know if you're still listening, but I know Matt has been playing it. He said earlier that it's amazing. He said they can't give you a good Star Wars movie, but Mandalorian and Fallen Order are fantastic. So, yeah, I'm almost done. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was just a boss fight that I did that was super cool on Dathomir. Dathomir is the planet of Darth Maul and the Night Sisters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you watch the Clone Wars, there's a lot about Dathomir, and it's fun to be on that planet, and it's very challenging. It's definitely the most difficult planet in the game so far. And there's one more planet I haven't been to yet, and I'm about to go to. I was thinking I was going to beat the game tonight, but I have to wake up at 4:30 tomorrow morning, so I don't think I'm going. I'm probably going to go to bed as soon as this is over. But I'm going to San Diego. I'm not going to complain. San Diego's beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah, compared to here where it's 30-something degrees, I'm going to wear shorts and go to the beach. Yeah, so there's that. And then I'm also trying to rewatch all the Star Wars movies. I started a few weeks ago. I wanted to watch one a week leading up to episode 9. And right now I'm 1 week behind. I'm supposed to be on episode 5, meaning that as of tomorrow, I'm supposed to be on episode 6. I just, Amy Taylor just subscribed to the channel. Thank you, Amy. I just watched episode 4, and that's because I got behind. So when Disney Plus came out last week, I was already kind of behind. I was on episode 3, and I was planning on watching episode 3 and then 4 real quick, just back to back. Well, when Disney Plus came out and I saw that all the movies were in 4K, including Rogue One, I determined, nope, I want to rewatch those now that they're in 4K, because Rogue One hasn't been available in 4K, and it's pretty much my favorite Star Wars movie. So anyway, I decided I would just rewatch everything. So I finished episode 3, and then I watched Solo, because it technically chronologically would be next. And then I watched Rogue One, because that's next. And then I just finished A New Hope last night. So I am a little behind, but whatever. I'll watch episode 5 and 6 this week and get caught back up. So if you're behind, or maybe you just want to watch episode 7 and 8 before, you've got a few weeks until you need to start watching. But I'm a big fan of rewatching movies before a sequel comes out. I find it really fun. It refreshes my memory, really gets that hype going. So basically for the last, 4 weeks now, I've been in full hype mode for Star Wars, because every week I'm watching one. And, I have an adult life, a full-time job, and other responsibilities. So it's like getting the time to watch one of these a week can be difficult, on top of going to the movies each week to try to watch something for couch crunchers as well. So, it's been like my life other than work. So it's been fun, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. And then the last thing is The Mandalorian. So let's talk a bit about that. What did you think of it overall? I know you weren't on last week and we talked about it. So what do you think so far?
So I am a kind of a fan of the Clint Eastwood Westerns. I really enjoy Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
And this feels a lot like those Man with No Name movies. Mando is very much you roll into town, shoot everybody up, kind of cowboy type figure. Even though it's set in, it's not really in space. There's not really that much that happens in space. It's just on different planets. He goes from one planet to another, but it's not really in space that much. They've been in space for about like five minutes.
Yeah.
There's a scene where I don't know how much I can give away, but there's a scene where one character is kind of fiddling with one of the knobs on his dashboard, and
yeah, that's cute.
It's really cute. I think that's about it that takes place in space. There's another scene
which is what I like about it.
Yeah, of course. No one really wants to see space. There's not much to see in space. It's just, the star-speckled background. It's kind of like being out in the ocean, and just everything's kind of got this homogeneous look to it.
Yeah.
It's when you get on the planet that things start to add spice and flavor and variety.
That's where the Star
but
Wars
it feels very Western. Yeah. It just feels very Western, because the planet is a desert. It's kind of featureless as far as plants are concerned. It's just a lot of dirt and rocks and mountains, which was something that was characteristic of the old spaghetti westerns they would film. It's just a really cool. Also, the score is very reminiscent of Ennio Morricone. His scores for those spaghetti westerns, and how
yes.
Yeah, and so the scores are really cool, and it doesn't feel like a space movie. It feels like a Western to me.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed it.
That's what I was saying last week. It's a Western in space, man. Like that music. Da-dun, da-dun. Like it just, I don't know. It just feels like a Western. And then, yes, the colors and the Mandalorian, like he even does like the hovering his hand above his hip, above his gun, kind of like, can I get the camera right? Like doing that kind of a thing with his fingers,
exactly. Exactly.
ready to draw at any moment. Like it is totally a space Western. And like you said, it's not in space, but like a sci-fi Western. And I love that. And I think that some of that is probably a credit to Jon Favreau, because he grew up in that generation where Westerns were huge. And so I bet some of that is like nostalgia for him. And he's like, let's take these genres and mix them together. And I think it works beautifully with a character like the Mandalorian. Like Mandalorians are very Westernish in just the way that they are. They're more Wild West, and they're warriors, and they're very noble. But like, I don't know, it just works really well. And speaking of Mandalorians and their nobility, that latest episode, dude, I don't want to get too into spoilers either, because it's just so good. And I
know what you're talking about. The last scene.
Yeah, the last scene is so
The
amazing.
last scene.
And I just giggled like a little boy. So yesterday morning, and I'm sorry if I know my boss doesn't listen to this, so I don't need to say this, but if you're listening, I did work yesterday, I promise. Yesterday it was snowing really bad, so I decided to work from home because they let us do that, so we don't have to like risk driving on the icy roads, which is awesome. So I log into my office yesterday morning. I'm like, it's going to take about 10 minutes for my computer to boot up. That's just how it works. So I'm like, let me turn on The Mandalorian. It should be live. Well, it was, because I think it went live at like 3 a.m. And so I get 10 minutes in, and I think it's like a 40-minute episode. And I'm like, well, because I didn't have to drive to work, I'm like 30 minutes early to work anyway. I'm just going to finish the episode. So my computer was booted up, and I wrote a couple emails while I was watching it. And then I'm like, nope, I just want to watch. So I went back into my office and watched the episode right then and there. And it was amazing, dude. Such a good episode. I'm just sitting here in my office giggling, and I cannot think of a better way to start my work day. It was so good. So good. Oh, and
it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah. And I'm also watching Titans. I mention that like every week, and the latest episode is really good. Next week is the finale. So if you guys are watching Titans, next Friday is the finale. So that'll be good. I'll give you guys my thoughts next.
So we're still talking about Mandalorian.
We are. Sorry, I just got on the tangent.
Yeah. So it definitely. I think you mentioned that the episode was like John Wick in space, and
yeah,
I would say I didn't get the John Wick feel. I feel like John Wick has a very signature action style. This to me seemed very much a Western style, especially the arrangement of the shooters, right? Because they were on top of these like adobe buildings.
It was like the shooter
coming in and out of doors on the street.
Like it was like the Tombstone shooting kind of.
Exactly. It's just like OK Corral, but it reminded me of like I keep wanting to say Seven Samurai, but it's the Magnificent Seven, where they have this kind of channel down the main street, and then you have these houses on either side, and the houses have doors, windows, and roofs where shooters are coming in and out, and the main character is pinned in a location where they're not safe for very long. And so it was very much a Western style. Reminded me of Magnificent Seven, reminded me of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, reminded me of all those Clint Eastwood shootouts and 310 to Yuma even. Yeah,
310 to Yuma is a good movie, man. But yeah, totally. And like it shows you how much of a bad A the Mandalorian is, but that he's also not invincible. Like he was trying to take on 20, 30 guys, something like that. It was a lot. But he was holding his own, but he was about to get taken out until something else happened near the end of that fight there. And it was just absolutely amazing. And I think the John Wick part for me, because I agree that scene at the end was very much more Western. I think that the infiltration scene when he went to kind of do his, I wouldn't even call it a heist because he kind of went in guns blazing, that felt a little bit more John Wickish to me, in the sense that he was just kind of going in and with precision taking out the stormtroopers. Like that felt a little bit more so in that wake. But all in all, I do think it has more of a Western feel. I think the John Wick for me comes more from he's just a bad A that people can't take down, and that's John Wick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. The Baba Yaga.
Yeah, he is, man. And we got more Mandalorian lore. That was freaking cool too.
Yeah. Now the thing about the Mandalorians that maybe I don't understand, maybe you can enlighten me. Are they all orphans? Is that why he keeps talking about the foundlings?
No, they're not all orphans. The Clone Wars show goes into a lot more detail about the Mandalorians, and I won't try to claim that I'm some super expert on the Mandalorians, but no, they have families, they have backstory. I mean, his family, as we can see from flashbacks, seems to have been killed and taken from him. But no, they have families. I think foundlings is more just a matter of they train them from a young age, so they're warriors from youth.
Okay. Yeah. So if anybody is hesitating on the Mandalorian or Disney Plus, I would say I can get, it's like you're saying with Google Stadia. Disney Plus is a great platform. They've got a lot of old content, but I think people might be hesitating to buy in right away because a lot of the content that they've been teasing us with all along doesn't drop until next year or the year after. And I don't think The Mandalorian is going away anytime soon.
No, it's gonna get more for sure because everyone loves it. It's very good.
It's really good. In fact, there was news this week that they've made Jon Favreau kind of the czar of the Star Wars universe from now on.
I'm okay
with
it.
Did you hear that?
I didn't, but I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah,
because he's freaking amazing. He's doing a great job with it, and Mandalorian is great. It's better than I expected it to be, and I expected it to be good. I was worried. It was one of those situations where I thought the hype was going to make it suck. Because that's what happened with Age of Ultron. I had a ton of hype, thought it was going to be great, and I was disappointed. Mandalorian did the opposite. Ton of hype, and it exceeded it.
I also wanted to point out that we got maybe you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but in episode 1, I heard Taika Waititi's voice, and then his name was in the credits. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he's the robot.
He's getting used up all over Disney now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to find this because they've got the Rogue One prequel series with Cassian Andor coming out too. I'm not sure when that's coming out. And then there's the Obi-Wan Kenobi show as well. So Disney Plus has a lot lined up with Star Wars, with Marvel. I mean, because it's next, I don't think it's March, but they said like next spring is when Winter Soldier and Captain America Winter Soldier comes out. So Disney Plus has plenty of content coming up. And they have more than just Star Wars.
Like that's the thing, as I think Mandalorian was a day one series, and I think a lot of people are waiting for, looking forward to the stuff that's scheduled to drop in next year.
If you only want new content, maybe you don't want to get Disney Plus yet. I think The Mandalorian is worth it alone because I'm such a Star Wars fan. But by the same token, there's a lot of the old Disney content on there. And unless you're a massive Disney fan who owns every single movie,
there probably are a lot of those.
There are, but those people are getting Disney Plus. They don't even care that they own everything. They're getting it anyway. And we don't own everything, but I'm huge Disney fans. We're huge Disney fans in this home, and we got it. Yeah, so you've got all the Disney Channel stuff on there. I didn't watch any of that growing up. We didn't have cable. That's all on there. You got all the old movies. You got live action. You got Fox stuff. All of The Simpsons is on there. There's a ton of content. If I were to rank the streaming services, Netflix I think is still the best one overall for a few reasons, but Disney Plus is absolutely great. Jared Berg, hey, what's up, man? It's a buddy of mine from about 10 years ago. Nice to see you in here. He says, hey, Petey, I even mentioned the John Wick feel for his attitude. Even my wife loves this show. There you go, crossing barriers. Even the wives are like in The Mandalorian. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Look, if you don't have $7 a month in your budget,
then Max will give you his password and you can share his password.
No, if you don't, if you're really that tight, I get it. But for the most part, people aren't that tight. Get Disney Plus. It's awesome. It's awesome. All right. Well, let's get on. We're already an hour and 13 minutes in. I was not expecting us to go this long with just you and I. Usually when it's two people, it's shorter, but we haven't even gotten to Mr. Rogers yet. So let's jump into that. That's going to be our final topic for the night. Let's talk about Mr. Rogers. It's
a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Won't you be my, won't you be my, won't you be my neighbor?
There you go.
So I saw the Mr. Rogers documentary that came out a while back. It was called Won't You Be My Neighbor. It was fantastic. It was really good. This movie was also good. It was not in exactly the same vein. The whole movie was kind of set up like a Mr. Rogers episode.
Huh.
Where it starts out, Tom Hanks comes through the door as Mr. Rogers singing the song that we all know. And he takes off his jacket, puts on the sweater. He sits down, takes off his shoes, puts on some tennis shoes, does a whole bit. And then he introduces this concept, and it it introduces us to the main character, whose name is Lloyd Vogel, played by Matthew Rhys. And Lloyd Vogel is a reporter for Esquire magazine, and he has a lot of unresolved daddy issues and a lot of anger. And he's the one that's really the focus of the movie. Mr. Rogers plays kind of like a mentor, or kind of a Jiminy Cricket type character, a conscience or a guide for Lloyd Vogel, who is struggling with his father in the movie. And that's basically the premise, is Mr. Rogers helping Lloyd Vogel to resolve his anger. And he does so through Lloyd is trying to discover what dark secret Mr. Rogers has in his closet hiding somewhere. He can't be this sincere. He can't be this caring and this emotionally connected to other people. It can't be possible, because Lloyd is not, and he can't imagine anybody who would be
Who's
what
possibly
he is.
that good.
Yeah, well, it's not just that he's good; it's that he really connects with people. And there were a couple moments in the movie that were striking to me. There's this one moment early in the movie where Lloyd calls Mr. Rogers to schedule an interview, and he has to leave a message. And then Mr. Rogers calls him back, and Lloyd is like, "Look, I don't need to take any of your time. I just want to schedule an interview so I can come down and see you." And Mr. Rogers says, "That's fine, but you have me on the phone right now, and right now there's nothing more important to me than talking to Lloyd Vogel." And then Lloyd makes a face. He makes this face that just, like, it's so brief, but so powerful. Like, you realize that no one has ever made Lloyd their top priority until that moment.
Yeah.
And it kind of caught me off guard, got me a little choked up. It was really powerful. And then later on in the movie, there's this scene where Lloyd and Mr. Rogers are sitting in a restaurant, and Lloyd is about as angry as he's ever been at his father. And Mr. Rogers says, "Let's just take 1 minute, and think about all the people whose love brought us into this world." And the camera is kind of switching back and forth between Lloyd Vogel and Mr. Rogers. And then it stays on Mr. Rogers for a while, and it kind of zooms in real slow. And then Mr. Rogers looks right into the camera lens for about 10, 20 seconds. And it feels like he's connecting with you, the audience, to let you know that he cares about you. And it's kind of surreal. It kind of gave me this surreal vibe, like the Joker movie, right? Where you don't know what's real and what's not, what's production. And so it was like, okay, so it's not just about this guy. It's also trying to connect with you, the audience. And it was really disorienting, but also really powerful of a moment. And I hadn't seen anything like that in a while, in a long time, that kind of threw me for a loop. And it's an emotional movie. It is very much a Mr. Rogers episode turned into a feature-length movie. It has the signature music, like the piano and the xylophone, and it's very much it sounds like a Mr. Rogers production. And the pace of it is very deliberate. And, if you take a kid will probably fall asleep because it goes pretty deliberate pace. And Tom Hanks, you can tell he's putting in a solid effort at maintaining the cadence that Mr. Rogers had. It was very slow. He's not rushed because he doesn't want anybody to think he has something else that's more pressing than talking to them. And so he's very methodical. He's very patient with his cadence.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, I watched some interviews he did, and he said that was the toughest part because he has a hard time even letting people finish their sentences before he's moving on to the next thing. And Fred Rogers he never did that. He would never cut somebody off in the middle of a sentence. He would never want anybody to think that what they had to say wasn't important to him. Yeah. And Mr. Rogers is just kind of a different idea. There was something in the documentary that really struck me, and it's true. It's just Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was everything television should not be. Television should be exciting. It should be thrilling. It should be fast-paced. It should get people's attention. And Mr. Rogers was the opposite. He was slow. He was methodical. And he wanted you to know that you had his attention. He was the one giving you the attention rather than the other way around. And it really comes through in this movie that Mr. Rogers was what he was about. So this is my idea, and this is why I think this jacket, the sweater, whatever you want to call it, is appropriate, is let's get a PBS cinematic universe. We'll start with Won't You Be My Neighbor? Then we'll have a Bob Ross come in with his painting, very methodically demonstrating, kind of an art movie where,
hour and a half of nothing but him painting.
Then you've got LeVar Burton with Reading Rainbow, and he's coming in and he's teaching people to read, and it's Reading Rainbow. It's really good. And then last but not least, this isn't PBS, but it should be Steve Irwin. Have Steve Irwin come in and teach us about animals. I think that'd be really good.
Oh man, I want to see this movie now. I was gonna go today, just didn't end up having time. But it sounds great. It sounds really inspiring and uplifting, and sounds like the kind of movie we need more of in the world.
Well, I don't know how much of it you need, but I really enjoyed it. I would probably go see it again. I gave it 3.5 stars because I enjoyed seeing it the first time, and I could probably be talked into seeing it again.
Okay. Yeah, I just look up to Mr. Rogers. He was such a treasure. Fred Rogers was a treasure on this world. And I grew up watching his show, and I loved it. I always loved Mr. Rogers, and I'm sure my parents loved that I loved him because he was just a sincere man. And I haven't had a chance to watch the documentary. I really want to because it just looked like a nice tribute. To him? Was it?
It was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think anybody who watched Mr. Rogers, or even anybody who ever wanted to know how crayons were made, I think would really enjoy the documentary. When I think back on Mr. Rogers, the only thing I can remember is the episode where he shows how crayons are made.
I don't remember that. I just remember him being such a sweet man, and the puppets, and I don't know. It was clear to me as a kid that this man, like if I were to meet him, he would have wanted to be my friend and give me a hug, and like talk to me. It was like Santa Claus without the beard, super skinny Santa Claus, but like in real life.
Uh-huh.
And so, it just sounds like a great uplifting film. I mean, even if it's not perfect, 3.5, clearly it sounds like there was, some issues with it, but.
Well, the main issue was that it left me wanting the actual Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks turns in a great performance, but he's no Fred Rogers. And so it's like, can we just get footage of Fred Rogers doing this? And in the credits, they actually do bring out footage of Mr. Rogers singing his songs and putting on a show. And that part was very satisfying after waiting the whole movie to hear Mr. Rogers' actual voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious about that bit because the trailers made it look like Tom Hanks was doing a pretty decent impersonation. But how was it, like all in all, his impersonation?
It was good. It was really good, but his voice is a little different, and having actually watched the show for many years as a kid, I know what Mr. Rogers is supposed to sound like. And so when Tom Hanks is out there doing it, it's just a little different. I don't know if you've ever heard of the uncanny valley, but when things are close but not quite right, they kind of give you kind of an eerie or a creepy vibe. not that he's creepy, but it's just ironic to me that Mr. Rogers is the most authentic person in television history, and they had to get an actor to play him. And so it's just, there's no replacing the genuine article, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, of course not. And yeah. Well, that sounds cool. It sounds awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to add on Mr. Rogers before we wrap up tonight?
No, that's good. I think I've said everything I could say.
Cool. So 3.5, and it sounds like it was a good time, and awesome. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and being part of our neighborhood tonight. I want you to know that we care about you. We love you. I don't know how you would sign off, but
I love you. I love you just the way you are.
I love you just the way you are. So that'll do it for us. Nerds out.